Shout out to our sponsors at IconBet. Open source, decentralized gaming, no deposits, play straight from your wallet. IconBet, made by the players, for the players. Ion Icon is proudly supported by Icon Nation and the Icon community. Hey everyone, we're back with another episode of Eye on Icon. This week we go around the ecosystem and bring you all the latest Icon news. And with me, as always, is Icongrapher. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty well. There were it's got several days of green candles in a row there, at least as far as Bitcoin is concerned. I saw, some people kind of got a little nervous when that happens, and sure enough, we got a couple red candles, so they calmed down. And now it looks like I think as of today, we had another nice, pretty big green daily candle on Bitcoin, and obviously all the alts seem to be doing relatively well. Icon's, I guess, above a dollar, some might be only above a dollar. But I think trend wise, everything seems to be moving in the right direction again, and kind of a healthy pattern as well. So certainly a lot better looking than were a month and a half ago, both in terms of the actual market structure, but certainly the market sentiment as well. And there's other little pockets of the crypto industry that are picking up as well, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But certainly a much more improved situation market wise, and I'm just both again as both in terms of the price, but also just in terms of the sentiment. And sometimes having the sentiment's better. A better sentiment is better than having a better price, just because it's a bit more of a pleasant experience to kind of hang out on social media channels and things like that when people are more excited than they are when they're super bummed out and afraid the world's going to end.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, I was just looking at this morning. We had a real explosion with the ICX candle, 4 hour candle, hitting close to $1.15, but at the moment it's come down to $1.07. Let's hope this candle. I hope it just doesn't turn into a shooting star. But yes, generally though, sentiment is good. We're seeing everything. I mean, there's a lot of big news, right? ETH's EIP 1559 is literally
Yeah,
a day away. It's 1559 or 1599. I get it
it sounds
confused.
right to me.
Yeah, yeah. One of those numbers is literally a day
The
away.
EIP
So
everyone cares about.
that's
Yeah.
right, exactly. ETH finally burns. Okay, so that's been bullish. Everyone's very bullish on it. Now let's hope. I wonder if it's going to be one of those, sell the news. What is it? Buy
By the
the.
rumor, sell the news.
That's right. That's right. Well, time will tell, but it's a substantial upgrade, and we've got actually quite a few various. Like if you look across Icon, and we're going to touch on that soon. We got 2.0 really coming in soon. We got some other ecosystems having major upgrades as well. So it's just that phase in the year where we're seeing some of the heavyweights go through these upgrades that are meant to enable a lot more functionality or make that ecosystem better in general. So the sentiment has changed from doom and glooms to positivity, which is great. Yeah.
Well, it's funny too, because but both with ETH, essentially ETH 2.0 and BTP, we've been hearing about conceptually them, since probably, I think certainly concept of BTP since 2017 during the ICO,
Hmm.
and I think around that time, maybe a little afterward, as far as Ethereum with kind of the new version, whatever it looked like, and so everyone at the time kind of acted like it was going to be right around the corner without realizing how difficult it really was. So it's just kind of funny how these things. It's not just Icon that takes a long time to get things done. Ethereum has all the talent in the world working on it, and that still took years to accomplish from the day that they realized that there would be there'd need to be another not version necessarily, but a scalability solution, I guess you could say. And so, it's not just something you can flick a switch and then there it is. So whenever you see a protocol say they're going to upgrade in a really quick amount of time, you should probably be skeptical based on, what it typically takes for the true blue chip projects, and I'm including Icon in that.
Look, it's such a good point because when you think about it, like not Icon, ETH 2.0 is still a while away. In fact, they're probably seeing a few delays, but it's become a little a bit on the back burner in terms of when it comes about because finally your layer 2 scaling solutions have launched. Now, to put perspective, these layer 2 scaling solutions have been talked about in the last that's when they were building it. So 2 years ago, or not even 2 years, what, the last bull run they were talking about layer two, and it took that long till this next bull run to come to fruition, where they've actually finally started deploying on mainnet. So we don't have utilization because people are still transitioning to layer two, but we actually finally have deployment on mainnet, and dApps can start deploying the builders can start deploying their dApps on these layer 2 or side chains, depending on where they want to enable functionality. But you're right, it takes time. So it's just to be expected. And when you line that up with Icon 2.0, it's actually not going too badly. Like, we're in the final phase of data migration. So, yeah, it's a good call out. Good perspective, Icongrapher.
Yeah.
What have we got this
So I guess
week?
we'll,
Yeah.
yeah. So let's start with as expected. I think as we knew at this time last week, we got a launch this week. We've been expecting several launches of the last month or two. Ohm being among them. Project Nebula we got 2 weeks ago. I guess a little more than a week ago. And so Craft came out on Tuesday, so yesterday, I guess, if you're depending on when you're listening to this. And so this has been something that's been in the works for a long time. It's been worked on for a long time. It's been anticipated for a long time. And again, you can kind of tell why it took a while because it is really well put together. It's really well done. It's really easy to use, both, and it looks really nice too. Anyone can hop on there and create an NFT in minutes, if not seconds, by uploading a picture. You can put it up for sale. If you see an NFT that you like that's not for sale, you can make an offer on it saying, hey, you're not listing it for sale, but I'll pay you 100 ICX or 5 ICX or whatever it is for it. And so it's just, a lot of people who I think haven't necessarily messed around in the NFT space. It's been a nice little entrance for them because again, it is so easy to use. Kind of reminds me of Balance being a nice gateway into the DeFi space for people. And so I've certainly enjoyed playing around on there and using it and things like that. And the team behind it has been Stakey has been very helpful, especially in their Discord and kind of obviously anytime there's a launch, there's a few bugs here and there. So very responsive. They're already working on fixing things. And gradually building out a community. They'll have the CFT token coming out in the near future. And so that'll be something interesting to watch as far as kind of farming and liquidity mining and providing liquidity pools for that, how that all plays out. And another cool thing too is they announced a Project Nebula kind of partnership, which I don't think came as much of a surprise, where it'll be possible to sell your Project Nebula NFTs on there. There's already some spaceships floating around on there, no pun intended, as well as they should have planet capability here pretty soon, is I believe what they said. So we're already seeing some nice little network effect happen between two of the leading, I guess, most recent leading projects that have launched. And so it's just a really, really fun platform. And if you're interested in the NFT space but haven't necessarily had a chance to dip your toe in the water, I'd certainly recommend hopping on there and at least kind of poking around a little bit. The team has said I think I saw a quote saying they've accomplished about 5% of what they want to with this platform. So they've already said, over the coming days and weeks that there'll be additional kind of tweaks and upgrades and different ways of presenting stats and other things like that. So it'll be a very, very quickly evolving platform, both in terms of UI, but also in terms of actual features. The features obviously going to take probably a little bit longer than the UI upgrades and the UI additions, but nonetheless, certainly exciting, and everyone who's used it thus far has been pretty positive as far as that experience is concerned.
Yeah, this was you know, they this was a big one, a new space, NFTs, and I can see you've covered it brilliantly, so I won't go into it. So what I do have though on the screen, if you're watching the show on YouTube, is this some it's got your name all over it. I don't Icon Treasury. I'm not quite sure. Tell us, man. How did this look? Let's just sidetrack a little bit. Tell us, how did this come to be? What is this about? I can see you've done a ton of work here, and there's so many things listed.
Yeah, so I thought it'd be cool to, this is a while back when I think when Craft was certainly still being built. I just thought it'd be cool, if thought it'd be cool to do an NFT project and kind of figure out, okay, what, everyone's kind of doing some version of CryptoPunks or the Bored Ape Yacht, just sort of like a character of some sort. But I thought it'd be cooler to find a way to kind of memorialize in some fashion kind of historic or momentous instances of things on the Icon public chain. And so it took me a while to kind of figure out what that would look like, but decided to kind of create these little tokens that they look hopefully as realistic as possible, but they show, okay, here's the first ever transaction that happened on Icon Bet. Here's the transaction hash. Here's the date. Here's the time. Here we'll go. So just an artistic way of kind of memorializing different moments in Icon's history. Each moment has 4 different versions of it: a platinum, a gold, a silver, and a bronze. And there's only 10 platinums, while there's 100 bronzes, and then varying numbers in the middle. So we did the first. There's 28 moments or 20 moments total. We did the first 10 today, and the second 10 will happen tomorrow, which is Thursday, August 5th, if you're depending on when you're listening. And so a lot of, we've built a nice little community. We have a nice little Telegram and Twitter community, a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of excitement around it. So that's certainly cool to see, whenever you spend time building out something and putting what little bit of artistic capabilities, I guess, you have into it, and people react positively. That's certainly nice, something nice to see. So they're all priced the same. So ideally giving people as much of a chance to kind of participate as possible. I've done a bunch of giveaways, things like that. So hopefully, as much of the community as possible has a chance to own one of these. And I've already saw some get listed for 10x what they got bought for. So we'll see how that turns out. But nonetheless, just thought it'd be kind of cool to create a moment on the moments of Icon blockchain in an artistic manner.
Yep, love it. Thank you for that. I thought, full disclosure, Icongrapher did not want to give that a shill on the podcast, and I turned the tables and made him. So no, look, I think it's great. You've been doing all this work in the background, and it's good to see it come to fruition. So
yeah, I think I bit off a little more than I could chew in terms of how much effort it would take to get it all done. But all the art and stuff is tricky. So now it's mostly done, and now it's now it's in the hands of Iconists. So that was the goal.
So get in there and own some NFTs that are connected in some way is connected, verified on chain, and to the Icon ecosystem, all major events that have transpired. Now, I know many of you are listening going, but where's the Eye on Icon NFT? I did have a long discussion with Icongrapher about this, and we didn't solidify Ion Icon with some kind of transactional history on the blockchain, so we don't get one of these, right, Icongrapher? That's still the story, isn't it?
Yeah, that was there were other ideas, something for metrics would be another example. But yeah, there's certain historical things that are relevant to the Icon chain but aren't actually on the chain, so it didn't quite fit the format. But maybe when I have a bit more time to think it through, I'll find a way to memorialize those as well.
So there's hope.
Some interest in that, but yeah, we'll see. Don't want to overpromise or underdeliver or anything like that.
Agree. Okay, excellent. Let's move on. Okay, so next we have Balanced, and let's take a look. Balanced have released their update for every month. They promise they're going to get out updates of what they've achieved versus what they're planning to do. So I have that on screen here, and you can see in July the Balance Forum has been set up, which is where you can discuss changes or some of the ideas that the team want to move ahead with. They put up proposals and things like that in that forum, and we can go in and add our 2 cents or make suggestions or tweaks or however, whatever, speak your mind. So that was kind of exciting. I know as soon as it launched, the dedicated Iconists were already in there voting or just having a say on the one comment Scott had put up, welcome. So that was good to see. It showed high engagement. We see in July as well the vote page. It's actually, if you go to Balanced, you can see that clearly there's a vote section now, and you can see the first on-chain vote that had passed is in there, and we'll start seeing more of that in the future. What is cool though, some of the things that Scott has talked about regarding the pegging mechanism for BNUSD, we've seen that they've finished work on that and it's now live on testnet. If you recall, on launch we had the rebalancing when everyone started to get rebalanced, and in the initial week it was quite heavy, actually for the first few weeks, and everyone was panicking what's going on. And through a bit of feedback, Scott and co thought of a revised plan around the rebalancing, and they have finished the dev work on it, and you can see now it's in testnet, so they're officially testing it, that side of things. So while that's not live on mainnet, we should see that come about hopefully next update that rolls around. But that's a big one. Essentially, we don't. It will remove that worry that you could lose some of your ICX or have some of your ICX sold for BNUSD based on a rebalancing that occurs, because now it'll actually give the kickbacks to people who the rewards, the percent that's arbitraged via the rebalancing, it will give it back to the borrowers. So it should kind of negate that effect entirely. So that's exciting to see. Then we also see in August, and Icongraph, if you have any insights or 2 cents, please chip in. I was just going to cover August. We're seeing that it's essentially they want to work through all getting more of the governance aspect, where we're seeing some BIPs come through, which is the initiatives of balance improvement proposals, community submitted votes on mainnet. So they want all those aspects to be fleshed out. That's the core focus for the month of August. But what's cool, and Scott talked about this in our Icon community chat as well, where he wants to get these financial statements of the DAO, some stats, facts, so people can see what the financial status and reserves of the actual DAO is, which to me is awesome. It will be great to get some visibility about the protocol and how much reserves it has in terms to ensure that it's sustainable in the future. And amongst other things. So I have the link. We'll have it in the show notes. If you haven't already, take a look at it. But this is great. This is a promise that the team made, that every month they'll update what they've delivered and what they're working on. So this is month 2 now, and we've seen these updates consistently roll around, which is fantastic. So it's a great initiative that gives a lot of insights. Icongrapher, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this stuff, to a certain extent, it's new, but it's not necessarily that new, because some of these ideas have been kicked around, or at least talked about, sometimes since the beginning of balance in certain cases. So, but that being said, it's nice to see them. The rubber's really starting to hit the road here as far as either stuff, being activated on, tested around on testnet, or getting ready to be deployed, or whatever it might be. So, a lot of the ideas and a lot of the concepts that Scott has been talking about for a little bit now, they're no longer just ideas. They're actually code that's ready or close to ready to be operational. So it's nice to see follow through on that. Again, not that we would expect anything different from the balance team and Scott specifically, but also too, it seems like these updates. I don't have any evidence to back this up, but it feels to me like these updates keep getting longer and longer, which I think is a good thing, and just shows they continue to push on it. So certainly no reason to continue to not be bullish on balance as far as I'm concerned.
Agree. And, one thing, if you don't scroll all the way down, every time at the end of the article, they actually call out that they want community leaders to join the Balance team. And they're looking specifically for front end or smart contract developers who would like to work on Balance or want to integrate Balanced or BNUSD into their own product. So, if you're listening to this and have ideas or working on something in the background, or one of our partners, BTP partners, and you haven't already, do reach out. I know you reach out to Scott, you always get a response. So definitely something to keep an eye on as well. What's next, Icongrapher?
Well, speaking of updates, and it's a little bit ironic that we talked about balance before Icon itself, but here we are. We got our monthly development update from Icon, which we've been getting for a couple of years now, I think. And the first outstanding question is, how far is the data migration done? And we are now up to 67%, so pretty much exactly 2/3. And so certainly good progress, moving right along. I think the last time we talked, it was at was it 39%, or am I
Yeah, it
getting
was.
that
Yeah,
wrong?
yeah. So we've had a big
Yeah, so
jump.
we went. I think we went from like 30 to 39 in about the same amount of time. I think as we went from 39 to 67. So certainly it seems like they're firing on all cylinders. Is that as far as the migration is concerned? So everything seems to be still moving about right on track. They also mentioned there'll be an initial IISS 3.1 update shortly, and so that'll change the economic, um, kind of the tokenomics, I guess you could say, kind of the overall economic structure for Icon and ICX, especially as it relates to governance. And so there will be some more details on the forum, as well as some community discussion following off on that soon. And so it'll be an initial economic design, kind of more compatible with the Icon 2.0 ecosystem that's going to be coming. So certainly pay attention for that. As far as BTP is concerned, they mentioned that they're making good progress on Binance Smart Chain development with BTP, and that testing will start soon. So that's certainly good news to hear. And there was a nice little quote in here that they said, at this stage, it's becoming easier to pitch and attract new partners. Soon we'll have a working prototype, and BTP will continue to thrive. So it's one of those things where I'm sure certain chains are getting pitched various different interoperability platforms, whatever. I'm sure a lot of them might get tuned out just because they all maybe sound the same. But I think it's clear that BTP is starting to stand out a bit on its own, especially now that there's maybe a bit more functionality as far as some of the initial integrations that are being worked on and underway. So it's easier to approach other chains and say, hey, here's what we're building over here, and kind of have something to show. And obviously, once things start testing on BSC and other chains as well, it'll probably become even easier. So, it's one of those things where you can, if you build an amazing product, but people aren't interested for whatever reason, then it doesn't really matter. But obviously, we've gotten some good interest thus far from both the Polkadot ecosystem, the Near ecosystem, Binance Smart Chain, Harmony. I think that's all of them off the top of my head for now. So certainly some positive news there. And then finally, there was a nice, Near it was made official relatively recently. We knew it was unofficial because we saw it on GitHub a little while back, I think at least a month ago. But they did their official announcement relatively recently, and now they've been doing some additional marketing. They had their official Twitter account had a really helpful infographic describing, why BTP was so cool, why it was going to be good for Near, kind of targeting their own ecosystem. Obviously we felt it beneficial as well as Iconis, but it's nice to see Icon and BTP specifically being pushed out to other communities, so that obviously the Near project itself is on board, but making sure that their own users understand what it is and what it's capable of is obviously really important as well. So certainly nice to see them doing that work, and I saw that have some pretty good traction in both the Near and the Icon community. So that was nice.
Yeah, look, I love this. I think of all the connections, I think I've noticed the near community make a song and dance about the BTP announcement, if I dare say it in that way. We've seen a range of infographics just being created around BTP and what it enables, and they're actually actively reaching out. So I put out a tweet just yesterday because someone in here reached out and said, could you promote this, give this a bit of a tweet in the community and get more iconists to see it? I was like, heck yeah, this is exactly what it's about. So it was great to see. The BTP, I found this a great update, and as I've been thinking about it, I wanted to put some perspective here. So, we know, unfortunately, there are some technical hurdles for us to connect Ethereum to BTP at the moment, hence ICE, and that will create and enable all of that. But I found it interesting, though, we are able to connect to Binance Smart Chain, which is actually great because once we have that connection established, essentially Binance Smart Chain has a bridge version of a lot of Ethereum assets, and we can move those assets from Binance Smart Chain straight across. Yes, it's an interim fix, but we're still not closed off to Ethereum, and And to top it off, obviously, we have Orbit Bridge as well that has us bridge to Ethereum, and we can move assets via that. So we have two various solutions that we can use to still get Ethereum assets across. So once we start seeing some of these BTP connections launch, until they're officially on BTP, we still have some back ways to connecting to some of the bigger chains if we don't have them on BTP as well. So, which is quite cool, and yeah, very excited about BTP launching. We know. What is it, Icongrapher? It is once migration is done, it'll take 2 weeks before we actually migrate to Icon 2.0, get everyone ready. That 2 weeks may turn to 4. Just put perspective, if we're waiting for exchanges and there's delays, etc. But once that happens, post that, then we'll wait 2 weeks before the first BTP integration happens. So yeah, it's all shaping up. The end of the year is going to be quite exciting, the way things are running. But yeah, cool. This was a good update. I quite enjoyed seeing the 67% on the data migration. That came as a pleasant shock. So, and finally, I think Icongraphy you touched on this, the IISS 3.1. That's a big one. I keep commenting about this. It's a shift in the way everything works from a rewards perspective, from the way the PREPs operate. And Icon 2.0, this will happen. So then all of a sudden, instead of, and I always keep calling this out, instead of the foundation rewards, we've got all the blocks that get generated, aspects of that is being redirected into CPS, and we know once CPS hits 1 million ICX, then it starts to get burnt. Then obviously, we've touched on what BTP does and how that will create burning quicker, and it just steamrolls from there. So exciting times.
The simple way to look at it is, at least the I will look at it, is it's a way to give Iconis more control and direction over, to a certain extent, how much inflation there is, but also who is the beneficiary of that inflation. And when I say beneficiary, right now the main beneficiaries are essentially people who stake because they earn their rewards, which are generated by inflation, as well as the peer-ups who are earned their block rewards by through inflation. And so inflation comes off as a bad word, but it's also a way to compensate various actors within the community, whether it's those who are participating in governance as stakers or those who are participating as node operators. And so the question becomes, okay, now that we have CPS, do we need to still pay the node operators as much if they're able to do projects via CPS? Do we still think staking rewards need to be at this amount? Do they need to be higher? Do they need to be lower? And then also it comes into, how much do the Icon 2.0 BTP relayers, what should their compensation be? And so, it's not going to be, I don't know if there's necessarily an obvious answer to all these questions right off the front, but it'll be something we'll have more ability to kind of tinker with and adjust and figure out what the best direction as far as where those resources flow as we move forward.
Yeah. And one thing I wanted to quickly call out as well, just, this comment in the update about getting partners now that people are joining, it's easier to onboard. A great example, we interviewed Julian from Unify, the CEO of Unify and Protocol, and when I mentioned BTP, straight away he was like, oh yes, I've been in many conversations, I know all about it, very excited about this to be rolled out. So those comments aren't just, to create excitement. It definitely is the case when we talk to other people around it or mention it, they are excited about it and can't wait for it to be launched. So if you haven't already, I really encourage everyone to listen, because that's, again, an external builder who's built something on Icon that is a cross-chain dApp that operates across 8 now blockchains, and there's a few migrations and things coming up, so Julian takes the time to explain a few of these things and really break down future plans for Unify, and it's quite exciting. It was really good to chat to him, and he's very passionate about Icon and very excited about ICE, which is the final piece that we see. We're going to get more details around the snapshot, who the working groups, things like that, but he himself mentioned that he's working with some of the teams that are involved on this project and is very excited about the launch, because essentially once ICE comes about, here's a protocol that they can they have been updating V2, the U-Trade protocol, to V2 to all the other chains, Binance Smart Chain and a few others. But one comment he did make is, when ICE launches, it would be so quick for them to just roll out the update on Icon versus, well, on ICE, versus currently it's kind of, Icon's completely different and has to be built from ground up and is very time consuming. So that's probably one of the reasons why Unify has been probably the last protocol to get U-Trade is the last, Icon is the last chain for U-Trade to be upgraded, sorry. And but once ICE rolls about, we can see that paradigm will shift, and we should hopefully start being things should start getting updated and rolled out on ICE pretty much at the same time, which is cool. Cool. Okay, I think we've spent a fair bit of time there. Now let's jump to some other news. We also saw Stably and Bridge. There was announced Bridge is ready, and we saw this big tweet storm where, announcing that Bridge, it's an API that's provided by Magic Labs, and essentially an email address is all that's needed. You sign in by an email address. It in the background creates an Icon wallet, does all these things, but all you see is, you don't get private keys, seed phrases, and all that stuff. They created this cool picture, which I've got the tweet up, of its, onboarding in seconds. It'll support all different assets, including Stably's stablecoin USDS, and you'll be able to use it as well to transfer money from your US bank account or wire transfer. Now, wire transfer may have its fees or whatever associated to it, but at the end, you can move money from America or internationally via this integration. And a few other cool bits. No private keys required, no extension required. So literally sign in via email. So you can use it on your mobile, you can use it on anything, which is cool. What I actually found interesting was this particular, I've even got it highlighted. Bridge also uses Icon's fee sharing mechanism so people can make up to $50 USDS transfers a day for free. I didn't even know such a mechanism existed, and the fact that there is something that you can utilize for free is brilliant, and we should be preaching about it. What are your thoughts on this announcement, Icongrapher? This is one of the big puzzles that for a long time it's been spoken about. It's finally fallen into place. It's there. It's live.
Yeah, this is something when it got announced, everyone said, oh, well, this will be huge. Whether it was, related to Ohm, or I think a lot of people, especially in the Icon Bet community, realize why it'd be a big deal there. And I think it's pretty easy to take your imagination and realize why it could be a big deal and potentially will be a big deal. And I think as Ohm highlighted, it was the last step toward them being pretty much ready to go. So I think they're working some kinks out. I think they said they'd be pretty close to announcing their launch date, their kind of countdown clock, so people could start unstaking and things like that. So maybe by this time next week we'll have a Ohm launch date as well. So hopefully both. It was kind of a double whammy of exciting news, because we kind of got 2 for 1 in terms of it meant this was ready, and it meant Ohm is about to be ready as well.
Yeah, and Scott's been hinting on this in some of the community chats and saying until this is ready, you can still go to Stably and register and get if you want to transfer USD to USDS and get ready for the opportunity to mine some Ohm tokens as you would have experienced in Balance what happened. So but it was good to see this release, and we saw Stably as well. I've got this open. They've put through an official announcement that USDS is on Icon and why and how it'll all work, which is quite cool. So that's that. Next thing we have on the list is this is a good one. Let me bring it up. Orbit chain, Orbit Bridge, not chain. So it says Icon is an origination chain in Orbit Bridge. So if you remember early this year or last year? This year they launched.
This year,
yeah. It was a bridge. Essentially, all it is a bridge to Ethereum. That's how it was launched, where you can move assets from Ethereum, and not any assets. Some predefined. There were 8 or 10 assets: DAI, USDC, Ethereum, obviously, and you could move back and forth from ETH. If Ethereum came over, it became iETH. So anything that came across via Orbit Bridge had an I in front of it, which you will see on Ohm, you'll see IUSDS. That's how USD. Damn it, I keep doing that. USDC, I mean Icongrapher USDC. It will be moved across from Ethereum, so it'll be IUSDC. But it was just a one-for-one bridge. That's all that was connected. I know this because I used to get excited. I would go and see Orbit Bridge would announce a few more integrations with other chains, and I'd go, "Oh, cool! So I should be able to move some of my those assets to Icon." And when I went playing around in it, no, it was everything else was getting added, but Icon wasn't getting connected to it. So this announcement really is that they have expanded the reach of, it's not just Icon to Ethereum. Now you can see over here that it will, what is it? There's quite a few assets. So Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, Polygon, which I'm quite excited about. So again, that's an example of we're not just dependent on BTP. We're utilizing other bridging solutions in the ecosystem because as an aggregated chain, we need to do that. And yeah, so Ethereum and Pylon is a, not Pylon, Polygon. Polygon, yes, Polygon, Matic. I don't know why they changed, but yes, Matic layer 2. So that's a good one. So we can see now we should be able to move assets across. Does that mean you should be running and doing anything? No, still just wait. Because remember, those assets need to be somewhere on Icon to actually be usable. And I'll give you a good example. I moved 50 DAI across when I made a tutorial. It's still sitting in my Icon wallet and having no utility because DAI hasn't been listed on any DEX or it has any utility currently on Icon. But it's just these are all the foundation steps that are getting put in place because soon, once Ohm launches and a few others now keep launching, we'll see a lot of these assets start to come across so people can utilize it and do things they always want to. But yeah, that's a real good one. I was very happy to see this expand, this partnership expand, and Icon be integrated with many of the other chains already on the Orbit Bridge system.
Yeah, it's always nice to see. I think you pretty much covered it pretty well, but just adding, it's always nice to see those kind of partnerships and relationships continue to mature and evolve and further development. They, in their announcement, they kind of mentioned how productive of a relationship they've enjoyed thus far, and that's why they were, it's one of those things where, for stage one is being the destination change, and then I think if they decide that went well and they had a good experience, then it's worth kind of investing additional effort and time and energy into building it out as a origination change as well. So the fact they were able to take that step means that they've their participation in the Icon ecosystem thus far has been a positive one, and they wanted to invest further in that. So always nice to see.
Yep, agree. What have we got next, Icongrapher?
A little bit of news from Iconfi. I think everyone knows what that is by now. It's basically the CFI application that allows people to with ICX, but also a few other cryptos, including Bitcoin and Ethereum, to earn interest similar to as you would with staking, but just in a much more user-friendly way. A lot of Iconists enjoyed the app tremendously. A lot of positive reviews. I think it's hovering close to 5 stars if you look at it on the App Store or Android Store or whatever else. And so they have announced that they are becoming a PREP. They're sitting, because they are a custodian of other people's ICX. They're sitting on a good amount of ICX, and where it's been directed previously is basically split up among 78 PREPs, I think the top 78. And so this instead, they become a PREP. They'll to a certain extent, self-delegate, and they're using the resources generated by that in order to have additional kind of backup reserves just in case, there's some financial situation that requires them to utilize that. I think any smart operator within both, I guess, this space, but also in terms of finance, and especially when it deals with other people's money, it's always good to have a large reserve on hand just in case the worst happens, and especially when you're dealing with technology. So the fact they're doing that makes sense. I think too, on the one hand, I think people look at it and say, okay, it's being split across 78, so it's kind of the whole ecosystem to a certain extent is benefiting from these ICX. But the other way to look at it too is by they've created a stronger model for themselves, but also by having these reserves. But they also being so involved in the ecosystem, they might want more of a voice in governance. So providing that for themselves, and also too, just because voting for the top 78, there are some really good P reps in there, but there are also some less good P reps in there, and so there's a question of kind of what makes sense. Do we should we just put it all toward Iconfi and gain the benefits of that? And I think that can help the ecosystem as a whole. Or is it better to have the 78? That's kind of it's I guess kind of a potential debate there. I'm fairly neutral on it. I think it's kind of either way has its ups and downs to where I don't personally feel too strongly about it. But that's the latest news from them. They also did a giveaway, and so they're continuing to do those. I think it was 2,000 ICX for those who kind of participate in this social media giveaway. So they're still doing actively a lot of promotion, trying to get the word out more about Icon 5. So obviously that's certainly good to see as well.
Yep, agree. Look, I am. I don't know how I feel about this news. I know I felt a little bit torn. I guess for me, it was all about the reason they weren't a PREP or anyone used the Iconfi, the centralized service, was ease and all of that, which is great. But in the background, what they were doing was taking those votes and dispersing it up to not the top 22, the rest of the PREPs, right? So that we could fix one of the problems that plagues many ecosystems in this model, where people just put in a vote and then forget about it, and sometimes the people who set up nodes aren't necessarily acting in the best interest of the ecosystem, but people haven't had the time or thought or care factor to go and change any of that. They just want to see the number go up. So this was a great way for those votes to get spread across. And this change is a big one to that. I mean, yeah, I don't know what to say. I don't know how I feel yet. I do like the idea, though. I mean, they're building the reserves. But again, from my point, it's like Icon 5 was always set up to be a third party, even though we know who the founders are. But it was meant to operate independently, and really their mechanism for creating reserves should come from the app they've created, in my view. But look, at the end of the day, we've got a team that does care about Icon, and even though all the votes say will go to them, we know the rewards are actually being held in the reserve, not sold off. So overall, from a price point of view, I see it beneficial to the Icon ecosystem, and there's more to it than that, but I think I'm being very honest and frank here about what this change means, and pointing at reserves, I start to question, well, your business model should already factor that in rather than considering the staking rewards as your reserves. So, but that's just mine. I could be completely wrong, and probably people won't agree with what I'm saying, but I'm allowed to have my view, and that's my view. Cool. The next thing is, what have we got? Oh, this is a good one. I actually didn't see it. Let's find it. It's Icon, Hyperconnect, and Y Dragon. So they've teamed up. What's cool about this? Think IAM. They've created an index of DeFi protocols, but they started on another chain essentially, and now are looking to dabble in the Icon ecosystem and pick, Balanced and Ohm and a few of the others in our ecosystem, and put them in their index fund. So the goal is, if you've got your everyday user coming in, which token should I buy? They don't. They go and acquire the token Y Dragon provides that gives them exposure to everything else in the DeFi ecosystem, which is not just to Icon. It's they support on Polygon and Ethereum. So they would essentially get exposure to a wide variety of assets under this token. So I like to think, again, compare it to IAM. You hold the IAM token, you're getting exposure to all the tokens they hold in the AUM. It's kind of in that vein. May not work the same way, but essentially their token is giving you exposure to everything, all the DeFi assets they hold in that basket. I didn't see this. Thank you to Donny, who has been curating our collating our news for us. He picked up on this. I was like, oh, interesting. So it was a good one.
Yeah, there's a lot of different approaches to try to mimic this kind of traditional finance model of having, it's always good to, all things being equal, it's always better to kind of diversify and have multiple eggs kind of in, I guess, multiple baskets. I guess I might have mixed my metaphor there. But, I'm trying to remember what it is off the top of Balancer does something kind of similar to this, where it essentially kind of automatically has pools, and then the tokens move amongst within the pool based on what the prices are. So it basically ensures you're always got a 40%, 30%, 30% stake of three different assets. There's also kind of derivative tokens for a basket of, say, DeFi tokens. I own a little bit of one called, DPI,
Mm.
which is essentially, I think, the top 10 or so
Yeah.
DeFi tokens, just because I couldn't, everyone's everyone's bullish on every single DeFi protocol. Some are more bullish than others, and I kind of said I can't figure out which one's going to be the one to run, so I'd rather just have exposure to the whole space, or at least a good chunk of the space. So, there's a lot of attempts, and smart attempts to kind of figure out what the best way to do this is as far as mimicking this type of approach in traditional finance. So it's cool to see hyperconnect kind of plug in here, and hopefully kind of build something out that can benefit those of us who are iconists.
Yeah, look, it's great, and you're right. Got some DPI, and now they've created Bankless DAO. Have created this new token called BED, which is basically the big three. By owning it, and you can see more of this taking off because there's just so much going on, and that going on isn't just crap, it's good stuff. So people are starting to create tokens that represent a basket of these, and BED is one of them that incorporates the big three, which in the Bankless eyes is Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then DPI, which is a basket of all the DeFi tokens. So by owning BED, you get exposure to all three, and you just hold on to it. And as the price moves, that token price, moves along with it. So it's cool stuff. Cool to see this. So this is why this is kind of cool, because all of a sudden you got some external kind of gone, yep, let's incorporate the DeFi that's taking off in the Icon ecosystem into this basket as well, which is great. What else do we have? Okay, I think that's the main news. Some quick highlights touching on, we saw Icon DAO. They've been building quite a lot of stuff. They had that internship program to hire and train students directly. And they've actually, this is the announcement that they've introduced the first dev, which is quite cool. Then they also had, that's not Project Nebula. Then the other part of it was they have another program. Now, what was this? This was the free university. So they have a course in blockchain development that refunds all tuition if you attend at least 80% of the class, which is pretty cool. So, ensures students go learn, and they learn about Icon and kind of get them when they're young, just learning things. Get in here. This is where you want to be building. And they pay, as long as they attend, they pay the tuition, which is quite cool. And I believe that's in Vietnam. So that was, these are things that Icon DAO have been very active, and they actually, got funding from CPS for something else for hackathons, not through universities and things. And these are all the other side things, they're side hustles that they're doing to ensure the Icon ecosystem keeps growing with new blood, I guess, which is quite cool. Your thoughts, Iconographer?
Yeah, no, it's always, there have been some version of this that Icon's been doing for a long time now, whether it was kind of, they've done hackathons, they've done, I think I remember during the early days, when they were kind of still, it was like probably early to mid 2018. I'd always all the time see, presentations being done at various universities in Korea, about all the capabilities of Icon and things like that. So, and I think those efforts have paid off down the road, because the team building out Icon is building some pretty high level stuff here. So being able to focus, it doesn't seem, you look at that and say, okay, that's 25 people in a room, whatever, who cares? But it's hard work. If you focus on it and do a good amount of time and let the kind of process play out, it can be really advantageous for any blockchain project, but obviously in particular Icon in this case. So not easy work, not glamorous work, but important work.
Yep, agree. And okay, so then we have a few other things. Just quickly, I won't. We see Band issued a real big update about the protocol and a lot of big changes. Now, if you didn't know, Band is our Oracle partner. Kind of a big deal, right? You think Chainlink, where there's so much hype about, and then you got Band. And in all their updates, extreme detail updates, they also happen to mention Ohm's integration, which again, these kind of things are cool because you got various communities looking and learning about things that they probably didn't know existed, which is awesome. Especially, we know it as Iconists, we care about Icon and sometimes lose sight of everything else going on. I'm sure all the communities are like that with Chainlink or Band, where it's like, this is our community, this is what we care about, and everything else is kind of up there, just not visible. But so this was cool. The other thing we saw was the DeFi Academy. I believe the second session was hosted as well, so it's great to see some consistency in that as well. And remember, these sessions are designed not just for Icon, it's for everyone new starting in DeFi and just cannot get their wits about how things work, because it is complicated when you first dabble in it. So it's great to see that that Ohm has kicked off this initiative with an Iconist who's just doing it in his own time as well. So kudos, and great to see that happening. One other thing, Icongraph, I forgot, and I wanted to mention now. If you're in certain groups, you've probably seen a guy that goes by the name of John True Crypto. He's a big fan in IAM and Epics, and he's kicked off this cross promotion idea. He just started this group, and it's called Icon Cross. And I'm gonna include the Telegram group in the show notes. I encourage, if you haven't heard of it, to jump in there. But he just started off with an idea where he pulled some of his own funds to create this promotional a promotion where people can come and play on Epics, and the goal was to educate people who play there about some of the other dApps and in the Icon ecosystem, and kind of get them utilizing an exposure. And just for doing so, they can go into a draw to win whatever tokens have been donated as a pot. And what we saw happening, where he put some of his own funds and created this idea himself. We saw Icon Bet, we saw IAM, we saw Epics, we saw various other people as well just start donating, going, this is awesome, here, take 100 ICX, take this many IAM tokens, take Epics tokens. And now there's a considerable pot just sitting there. So if you want to know more about this, and it's all free, you just have to go in and take part, or just engage with the community. If you want to learn more, get in there. He loves answering these questions. He loves it and goes into extreme detail. He's very passionate. So get in there and learn about it. It's a very cool thing. And I love seeing stuff like this as more and more Iconists just take the initiative to try something when they see an opportunity. And to top it off, I love it when all the P-reps and the builders in the community get behind it. And that's what happened with Iron Icon as well. So it's just great to see this constantly happen. So well done, John. And I can't wait to see this keep growing. And who knows, Icongraph or Iron Icon may have to donate a little bit to the pot as well, just to show that we appreciate people innovating.
For sure.
Cool. That's all. Any other news, Icongrapher?
No, I guess one thing I forgot to mention, as it relates to the craft launch, I tweeted about this, but basically, there was obviously that big kind of initial NFT hype cycle that happened in the earlier part of the year, probably around when everything else was going up. It was when it kind of broke through to the overall public, when you have random people start learning about CryptoPunks and wondering why Jay-Z's Twitter photo was a pixelated person and stuff like that. And then it kind of, the market crashed, and then, I noticed a lot of sentiment kind of go away on NFTs. Everyone said, oh, that was kind of a bubble. Not everyone, but some people said, oh, I guess that was kind of a bubble. Oh yeah, why were people paying six figures for stuff like this? And for whatever reason, that market has come raging back. I've seen, it looks like, stuff that was selling for CryptoPunks that were selling for like 100K are all of a sudden selling for 500K. And just overall aggregate volumes as well are just shattering records. There's I think I saw something that said on OpenSea that there's been $1 billion of volume, I think this year thus far.
Mm.
But it was, they showed like 2 years ago and it was like 16 million or something. So that space has just exploded. And I think they said 16 million in one day on OpenSea, which is kind of the Ethereum version of Craft. Obviously came before Craft. And so the fact that Craft is launching now, I think it's kind of a good time. Not that they necessarily planned it that way, although I'll credit them for that nonetheless. It's a good time to be launching. There's a lot of eyes on the NFT space. I think there's a lot of people getting involved, and so it's nice to see Icon really, as a community, make that strong push at such a kind of a relevant time. So hopefully, as I say that, we don't wake up tomorrow and see that it crashed again.
Mm.
But nonetheless, it is good to see. And as we also mentioned the other day, OpenSea got a good chunk of funding from A16Z
Mm.
for their kind of business model. So I think the people who run A16Z are certainly no dummies, and if they see a lot of promise in the space to where they're willing to give OpenSea, I think it was $100 million. Clearly there's still a lot of potential out there and a lot of growth and a lot of interest. So glad to see Craft and Icon aboard that train.
Yeah, look, agree. And, it was even just cool to just see on launch, Project Nebula, that is an NFT play to earn game, that is quite big as an it's getting, I'm sure Project Nebula will be quite big, but that play to earn, this blockchain gaming is kicking off. We've seen huge things on Ethereum, huge games kick off and be very successful. So, but as soon as Craft's launched, you can see that these NFTs are transferable on the store and you can sell it via that. You can actually go to the Craft store and buy these spaceships via the Craft store instead of the marketplace on the app as well, which if just NFT creators are looking, straight away it gets exposure, cross exposure, which is great. But overall, you're right. There was this talk about what is it, that we are in the NFT cycle is bust, and a bear NFT cycle. It's like, no, we haven't even tapped into the potential. What we're seeing is awesomeness filled with just crap flooding into the NFT space, but in the background, you don't realize how much it enables. All of a sudden, you've got artists that have complete new ways of getting their work to a broader market without using traditional methods, which would involve 10 different people who take cuts of everything before they decide they're not even going to sell it, or same as the film industry and all that crap. Like it's what DeFi did for finance, removed all the middlemen. It's what NFTs can do for creators and is doing for creators. So, and on the plus side, Rhizome will soon have some news and announcements about Metrics V3 and how it will utilize NFTs, and there'll be cross integrations with Craft and other aspects of NFTs, which is quite exciting. But yeah, it's cool stuff. It is very exciting times, and there's just so much happening. And when Icon 2.0, one thing we haven't thought about Icongrapher for a while, like we keep thinking BTP and integrations, Icon 2.0, all this, but we haven't given thought to the private side, Icon Loop side of when Icon 2.0 launches, what will happen there. Because that was all. That's what the original vision was, right? So, and while that's gone quiet, it doesn't mean it's just disappeared. It's just there's just so much attention on the public side of the chain that no one's really covering that component. But I expect when Icon 2.0 launches, we'll see a fair few things come out of that. I personally hope so and expect that to happen.
I would think if I'm like if I'm a leader in a private company of any stature, I would be intrigued by the kind of the BTP concept and blockchain to a certain extent if I'm not already. And I think the way it could roll out is essentially, okay, let's let all the crypto enthusiasts kind of play around with this and test it out, and make sure this thing really actually works the way it's proclaimed to work. So we, to a certain extent, the public chain and the public being us, could be to a certain extent guinea pigs for kind of what could be coming down the line as far as kind of actual more institutional usage. It's kind of the original Icon white paper talked about, hospitals and insurance companies and things like that being able to utilize these services. But I think if you're of those serious business, those types of businesses, you're probably pretty risk averse. And so I think being able to see that this type of technology being kind of road tested a little bit on some sort of lower consequential activities, you're not some huge insurance company that is going to just hop onto a blockchain and potentially, if it goes awry, then you have all sorts of new problems. But instead, being able to watch it actually kind of play out and see the technology working, and then say, okay, yeah, we're ready to go. We think this will be beneficial to us as linking one private chain to another private chain as was kind of originally envisioned. So that could be potentially one way it would play out.
Yeah, agree. No, cool. Look, lots of exciting times. Until next week, anything else to add, Icongrapher?
No, I think that's pretty much it. Hopefully we have our own launch date by then. But if not, it should be coming soon either way. And then it's hopefully another week of more good news.
Yep, agree. As always, just a reminder that we are not providing financial advice, investment advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own research. We're just bringing you the latest and greatest news in the Icon ecosystem and sharing our thoughts and views on the matter. So make sure if you're investing or doing anything, you do your own research and invest in that regard. But once again, thank you for listening, hopefully all the way through. And please like, subscribe, share this around. And until next week, take care, everyone.
See ya.